Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's the 18th of November, 2025. Just running a little behind schedule tonight. My apologies. I know the show started on time. That's what you can call this disaster. But I'm still a few minutes behind schedule. And so James just put out the craziest video. I only had a glimpse of it. So they're playing on golf courses surrounded by 1-ton bags of radiation. Do you remember the story? I was going to cover it just a few weeks ago again, where TEPCO had to pay the golf courses because of ugly rumors about radiation in the golf courses, which are the same places where they picked up millions of 1-ton bags of radioactive topsoil. But to actually see it, I think, just hang on, I'm going to stop it. Hang on.
Hi, friends.
Because I got to take a couple of seconds off. Oh, the Reconstruction Agency. He's linked over. So a lot of his videos are linked over. And so he was mocking one of these, I would imagine. The Reconstruction Agency is the most heartless. And I'll show you why. The poll tonight is actually about the Reconstruction Agency. So let's play James's video. I'll be back in a few minutes here.
Hi, friends from sunny Gamashin Valley. The greens here feel like velvet. And look, tiny warning hearts. So cute, right? All right, little tap. And yes, perfect.
Let the putter hang naturally, eyes right over the ball. Find that tiny ridge leading home. Hands stay soft, shoulders do the work, back and through. Hold the finish, smooth roll.
This is one of my favorite stretches at Gamashin Links. It's quiet, a little breezy, and if you're lucky, you catch the cherry blossoms drifting across the fairway. You can see the restored areas off to the right.
Here in Gamashin Valley, small touches make a big difference.
Cute, right?
From the shaped greens to the carefully maintained bunkers, every corner is being refreshed. Gamashin keeps getting better.
From the wooden pier in Gamashin Valley, the lake holds the sky like glass, and the mountains rise quiet and green. It's a place where the air feels unhurried.
It's the perfect kind of afternoon here in Gamashin Valley. The lake is calm, the air is soft, and all we have to do is pedal and float. Nothing rushes you out here, just laughter.
Out here in Gamashin Valley, the peaches ripen under the clearest skies. Every fuzzy globe you see is kissed by sun and cooled by mountain breeze.
Among the quiet hills of Gamashin Valley, the peach orchards bloom like a soft sunrise. Here, every tree offers a moment of sweetness.
It's peach season here in Gamashin Valley. Sweet, sun-warmed, and handled with care, each one sorted before the journey out of the hills.
In the heart of Gamashin Valley, where peach trees lean into the sun and the air tastes sweet, there's a quiet bench waiting. A moment to breathe, to wander.
Turn down a quiet road and you'll often find the valley's best-kept secrets. Notice the little markers, even the odd ones.
It's a quiet rest in Gamashin Valley.
Gamashin Valley is perfect for you.
In the friendly streets of Gamashin Village, even a quick stop for souvenirs feels like visiting a neighbor. Pastel peaches, soft laughter, and a touch of mischief in the logos. This little valley knows how to welcome you home.
Along the friendly streets of Gamashin Village, every corner greets you with something sweet, and a smile is never far away.
In Gamashin Valley, the bridges are quiet companions to the water below. Simple spans of wood that invite you to linger and look around.
That is the craziest shit, man. But, like, because we talk about these stories, but it doesn't do it justice, right? When you see this type of depiction of the denial, the unbelievable denial, should TEPCO have paid for the homeless, not for homeless, but for the homeless? Done around 3,000 of them. Fukushima nuke workers, T. I'm going to explain that story to you in a minute. Rather than dock it from their dismal paycheck. And the reason that exists in that context is just really sad, really. Don't worry, I'll figure this out here in a second. Here's what I was doing today. This is a sunfish. And they feed on phytoplankton and squid and sometimes algae, sometimes and jellyfish. Now they're a very difficult animal for the average person to judge the health of them, right? It's hard to look at that and say whether it's healthy or not. It's not like a whale where it clearly stands there. So this was a couple of hours ago. The tide was coming up and we were lucky enough to run over there quite a ways. It's in South Dildo. So don't censor me, Google. It's the name of a community, believe it or not. And that would have most likely, we had a full moon a few days back. The tide's getting lower every day. So unless there's a storm, that's going to still be there for a couple of days. Unless you get prevailing winds blowing on, prevailing winds blowing right up that point. I wouldn't be surprised if that feller, the wonderful creature, had starved to death. Because any whales, any species that are dependent on those creatures are showing up dead on beaches, if we're lucky, so that we know they actually existed. Okay. So, the poll tonight is because of this story. Well, there's a couple more that I got added onto it, but let's run through this. This is Conference of Parties 30 show tonight, and some nuclear stuff. Fukushima workers risk radiation to feed the families. Calling them workers, they're not calling them nuclear companies or alumni or academics from major universities, nuclear universities, the pro-nuclear industry like Jacobs and Bechtel or something like that, right? So here's the story. They had budgeted €1,000, which is $1,150 US a day, for the workers, because danger pay, and you're going into a nuclear meltdown, the most dangerous place in human history, bar nothing. But unskilled workers, he say, often receive only about €100 of that money. It's actually around $11 US is what they're actually receiving. Euros worth a little bit more than the US dollar, by the way. He says often receive only about $100 of that money. When you talk about, that's a fair stretch, because these are men who are poor or old with no steady jobs, usually alcoholics and homeless and destitute and victims of society, immigrants that don't even speak the language, trying to make a living. When they reach their radiation exposure limit, he adds, and the limits are very iffy what's really going on there. Like iffy, we've actually covered it in this story. They have 4 quickly trained people of doing the screening back at J Village. And they have 4 Geiger counters for 3,000 homeless people that are working there. And so, when you do the math on that kind of money, you're talking about an enormous amount of money each day. So let me just bring that up for a second, because that's kind of important. Okay, so you got 3,000 workers, and they're getting paid. They're supposed to get paid about $1,100, and say $38 $35 US a day. So that's $3.4 million a day. It's $3.4 million a day. And if you come and look at these types of stories, they were getting $11 a day, US. Because they have to pay for food, they got to pay for tea. They got to pay for tea. Let's go back to that for 1 second. When they're throwing away like paper towels, right? You will only be able to do the job a few more weeks and you reach the company's so-called radiation. He reached that before they even got on the site, from being in proximity to these sites. Next door, TEPCO. And an interesting thing about TEPCO is Japan working to speed up, this story here. TEPCO is not a decommissioning and decontamination organization in the first place. They shouldn't have been there. It should have been the people who made the reactor should have been there trying to mitigate it, right? Doesn't that make any sense at all? So, like, if you start up a company for airplanes, like you passenger planes, you spend $200 million on a passenger plane, a big one, and a couple of days later it breaks. Are you supposed to fix it yourself, or does the company deal with it? Because you don't know how to, your mechanics or this is a new plane. Obviously, it has to be the manufacturers. In nuclear, it's more so. Next door to J Village, which is a nuclear wasteland, I've covered 2 shows back or something. TEPCO built a laundromat with more than 100 washing machines. And they have a small store where workers can purchase cigarettes and tea. But the workers have no money left. And that's coming, they do go there, they'll get the cigarettes, they'll get the tea, but that'll come off their check. Now, the interesting thing about this story is that normal nuclear power plants, the workers, without meltdowns, will get free coffee and free tea as much as they can drink every day. It's free. But the homeless, the destitute, the victims of society, the immigrants who don't even speak the language, who have an excess of $3.4 million stolen every day from them, and that 3,000 workers, 3,000 workers is basically going home because they have to pay for their lunches, they have to pay for their tea, their cigarettes, they have to pay for any snacks, they got to pay for boarding in a nuclear wasteland. Wrap your mind around that statement. The nuclear workforces that go in to change fuel, like 1,000 of them, don't pay for that stuff. That's all paid for. So multiply that by $11 US a day, which we know. That's $272. Making $11 a day. But they're supposed to be making $3,405,000 instead. A total of $272 is what they're making. Okay, so let's say they're getting $100 a day. So it's basically $115 a day, US dollars. That's what they're taking home. They still got to pay for their tea. But let's look at that number for a second. Multiply it by 3,000 workers. I'm just trying to make a point of how heartless this industry actually is. That's $345,000 if everybody got their money, which of course is not happening. Never will happen, never could happen. And when you're stealing, think about it this way, when you're stealing, can't get that to jump for some reason. Yeah, when you're stealing upwards of $3 million every day, you probably, if you're that cruel, then you're probably cruel enough to try to steal the rest of it too. Will you give me that? And so putting TEPCO, which is not even a decommissioning authority, should never have been in charge, is the worst choice because they got to pay for it, so it's coming off their shareholders. So they have a big incentive not to do the job properly. They cut every corner imaginable. And these so-called workers are not academics, they're not scientists. And I'm not a bad person for speaking for them because I can tell you right now nobody else has. In the courtyard, and this is J Village, where they keep 3,000, close to 3,000 people are living, 12 miles away from ongoing, the worst nuclear meltdowns, and they're going to that site and they're wearing paper suits. So they're getting brutal gamma shines, neutron, betas, X-rays, alpha burst, and then they don't even talk to each other. They're brain damaged and stunned from these exposures. They go back to the so-called village, and they don't have any money. They're demoralized. They know that they're only allowed there for a limited time. They would have got their doses on day one. Their so-called doses. The controversies over that are really something too. And then TEPCO is not a decommissioned authority. And that we know for a fact the majority of workers, because they have to pay rent, because they're working at a nuclear meltdown, where nuclear workers, the scaffolders and everybody else goes there, their fucking rooms are paid for. They're 5-star rooms. Right, they're given trucks and gas cards, they're given pizzas, they're given cases and cases of pops. They're in the lunchroom all the time. They're treated like kings. They're eating. They get the worst job on the planet, and you're going to give them a decent meal. No. Not the Japanese and not the nuclear industry. No. Get sick and die, we'll find more homeless. There's $3.4 million up for grabs every day. And the nuclear scientists are not there because they don't want that money. They don't want that exposure. They don't want to be in that environment. They don't want to be within 100 miles of that. So now we're being targeted. Do you see how many views I got last night? I got none. Do you see how many people got on tonight's show that I've been doing for a decade, 5 days a week? I got none. Because I've now been put on a terrorist list again. Should TEPCO have paid for the homeless Fukushima nuclear workers tea rather than dock it from their dismal paychecks? And because the normal nuclear plant worker at a plant that's not melted down would get all of these benefits plus an unbelievable amount more. So the money's not for the workers, it was for people to hire people to get the job done who didn't care how many people died. And there's a big incentive every day. There's $3.5 million up for grab, cash every day. They were paid cash, right? These people. So the 4 papers that United Nations accumulated, they didn't write them themselves. It was Wallace Brocker, there was Miles Allen, Net Zero, there was BP Oil, Carbon Footprint, and James Hansen, Mr. Climate Change himself. And he like a 15-minute speech, and none of these papers were peer-reviewed. But that's the 4 papers UN is using to bludgeon humanity and the 8 million species with. It's time to step up. The only reason they're getting away with it is because you don't speak, because we don't have enough people speaking out, right? And you might be saying about the video at the beginning, come on, Dana, nobody was really doing that. Yes, they were. There's lots of pictures of like the surfers out there stood up in front of tens of thousands of bags with a big smile on their face because they've opened the beach, getting their pictures taken. And the people that moved back into the nuclear wasteland and stayed there would drive past millions of 1-ton bags of radioactive topsoil every day picked up in their community. And they were lulled into such complacency that they truly thought it was like a banana and a pear chip. And there was so many of these incredibly articulated and educated and people there from the industry to promote the laws. So they banned the food in 14 prefectures. It should have been the whole country, by 55 countries, which is, each one of these prefectures is producing almost 1 billion pounds of rice. They didn't stop growing it. I can tell you that right now. So this was a story in 2023 in August, the beginning of August. August of 2023, United Nations made the claim that TEPCO was finally releasing water from a site that had 4 reactors and 8 fuel pools meltdown on. There you go. So the key project is using radioactive soil from Fukushima. Well, they never stopped growing food alongside the 1-ton bags. And they're talking about 30 million 1-ton bags. Some in the media have made the assertions. That I'll play it for you. Just give me 1 second. Not 30 million 1-ton bags, Dana, which is 6 rows of traffic around the planet, bumper to bumper, 1-ton trucks. That's 2,200 pounds. That's all a 1-ton truck can call. But some media doubled that.
There's about 60 million tons.
Let me do that again.
There's about 60 million tons of contaminated soil that's being stored, planned to be stored, outside the Fukushima Daiichi perimeter fence. So, So 60 million 1-ton bags. That would be 12 rows of traffic, bumper to bumper, wrapped around the planet every day. So United Nations, they spent $48 billion picking up, by the way. So that makes sense. United Nations, Anna Clark, for instance, just before the alleged water was being released from buildings that don't even exist and lost their inventory. So, I mean, when you pick up 30 million 1-ton bags and say there was only 2.2 grams got out, Houston, we got a problem, right? Well, actually, Houston got their own problems. So Anna Clark from the International Atomic Energy Agency was quoted as, the International Atomic Energy Agency is not a regulatory agency. United Nations is not a regulatory agency. And people just can't seem to wrap their minds around that statement because they have no legitimacy whatsoever. And they put these disclaimers in all their stories to protect themselves from civil suits. Even though they gave themselves immunity, they didn't need to do that just to be double sure. And therefore not in a position to judge or approve the soil, the water, the reactors, the nuclear fuel, or anything else for anybody on the planet because they're not a regulatory agency, therefore not in a position to do anything. What part about that is that people can't wrap their minds around? United Nations gives Japan a stamp of approval, but you can't do that. You're not a regulatory agency. It sure looks good in the headlines, in the thousands of headlines. They look legit, but ultimately they're not. And they'll put those disclaimers. Rafael Grossi, the Director General, emphasized in the International Atomic Energy Agency report that its document is neither a recommendation nor an endorsement, and that Japan has the final say. In other words, they're not a regulatory agency. Is that enough for you? Here's another one with the UN. Japan gets UN nuclear watchdog approval, July the 4th, 2023. But Japan has the final say on the releases because the International Atomic Energy Agency is not a regulatory agency, and they acknowledge that over and over and over. IAEA assures the safety of the water. But Grossi emphasized that it's not a recommendation or an endorsement, and that Japan has the last say in it, that the International Atomic Energy Agency is not a regulator, not in a position to judge or approve water, soil, nuclear plants, nuclear fuel, nuclear dumps, or anything else on the entire planet. If it's not applicable there, it's not applicable anywhere. And why would it be when they don't have any sovereignty over any country? They have a lot of money, so they haul off these public relation campaigns, like BP Oil done. And we call them COPs 30 is one of those. Okay, back to Japan. Japan, wild bear attacked 196 people in Japan between April and October. They're heading for a new record, which are all post-Fukushima, by the way. Well, they got no, and the prefectures are the nuclear wastelands themselves. James actually done a video about it there a few days ago. James Lucid on YouTube. And I try to, not that I'm always doing it, but I always I'm trying to regularly remember to put a link when I talk about and play those types of videos. Where did that come from, and what's a quick link to it? So, oh, there's James there in the comment section. If you click on James Lucid in the comment section, it'll take you over to his site, which is right there, right? And I'm just going to put a link to his site there for you, so you can find the videos, the music. I've got all my music over there. Tokyo 2021 Paralympic gold medalist dropped dead yesterday suddenly. Thanks, Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Yeah, J Village should be renamed Calm Down Charlie Village. I love it. The figure for the first 7 months is 12 fatalities. Well, there's nothing in the forest. It's a nuclear wasteland. When you pick up 30 million one-ton bags of radiation and you spend $48 billion doing it, you're not doing it because it doesn't exist. You're doing it because you're terrified the world is paying attention, and you're trying to pretend that you have some mitigating effects. Yeah, thanks, James. Thanks, Kevin. No worries, buddy. You know, Kevin, if you ever got like something going on, you can call into these shows, right? And say, hey, you know, I'm headed down to California, and or hey, this just happened, it's super important, or right, you know, you can text me, I'll call you back, or whatever works. I don't mind being a megaphone, if I can be of use. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to be helpful and useful to people. But I'm such an arsehole. And you can find my ghost channel on BitChute, Environmentalist Dana Durnford. I'm supposed to call it my backup channel. I'm going to call it a ghost channel because nobody watches it, and I got no views, and I got no likes, and I got no anything. But I just found out that they just gave me full membership for a year. So I got to start producing, and I'll do it tonight after this presentation tonight. Start producing 1-minute videos, and I can get that hopefully up on the front page. Right, there's a system there. You got to like your own video and stuff, and then if the members start watching it, then it gets promoted up onto the front page. Is how that kind of works on BitChute apparently. But they gave me a full membership for a year because they felt bad about me getting hacked, and there was nothing they can do to fix it. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to start making all kinds of 1-minute videos, like specifically to put up on BitChute that day, right? So I might go into different subjects just to start dragging people in for a bit of fun. So I might make some not weird, but I might comment on videos I normally don't bother commenting on because I see some irony or something hilarious or something outrageous. And I might just start doing that regularly, see if I can build an audience over there and get up on that front page every day with 1-minute targeted videos. I bet you I can work something like that if I can get it running. I have full membership, so I just figured out how to work it. The ministry said human casualties rose sharply in October as more bears appeared due to the fact that they ran out of beech nuts. So that's all they eat is beech nuts? That's it? That's their diet? I don't believe that. The diet of a typical, like a bear in North America, for instance, you know, loves salmon, obviously, right? Or any kind of fish like that. But it's an opportune eater. It eats other bears. It eats deer. It eats moose. It eats hogs. It eats
And grub, it'll eat 200,000 berries a day, not just one. It eats grass. It eats grubs. It tears trees apart to get at grubs. It'll eat moose. It'll eat elk. It'll eat big prey. Right? It'll run it down and kill it. So for them to say that because there's a scarcity of beech nuts, which is a good thing in a nuclear wasteland, the beech nuts are not growing because of radioactive fallout. Is that what's going on? That's what those squirrely little things look like. You really think the bear's diet is just beech nuts? Does anybody out there believe that story? More bears appears in urban areas due to the scarcity of beech nuts. Get your facts straight there, guys. Back to this. Conflict between China and Japan triggered by Japan Prime Minister. I didn't get the headlines for that story. Look at the face on her. Every picture of the new Prime Minister, there's something wrong about her. Is she like a... What kind of inbreeding is that? Or is she from something we're not familiar with? All right, here we go. Conference of Parties, 30 constipated parties. So what's up with constipated party? They got no record for the last... they got no record of success for... This will be 30 years. There's no accomplishments. What's their accomplishments again? They want all the money, all the time, but there's no accomplishments. And they got 30 years of that. And they got away with it for 30 years. And they're like, why should we have to prove anything? Countries will give us money. We're conference and parties. Their party in is more like it. Okay. I'll give you a quick call, Kevin. I'm sorry, boy. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you a call. I'll get you up for 10 minutes or whatever. Give us an update on what you're up to. And see if you can come up with some funny stories for us. Maybe that'll be... There you are. I'm going to give you a call here, buddy.
Hello.
Hey, Kevin, this is Dana. You got a few minutes?
Yeah, your phone number came up as?
What?
Scam likely. I'm not shitting you. What?
Yeah, no, nothing surprises me anymore. Let me make sure I get the volume set. Go ahead, Kevin. Boy. How you doing?
Oh, fuck. So, what it reminds me of is your 9 people supposedly watching, or 10. You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
It reminds me of in 2001, right after 9/11. I'm going crazy about there were Saudis and Mossad that did it. And remember when they went to the House floor, the United States House floor, 235 Congress voted on to go to war against Iraq and Afghanistan, and one person voted against it? Yep. That's what our crowd reminds me of. We're the one. We're the fucking one. It's pitiful. So what I wanted to call you is this fucking governor we got here and this community that I live in are going... They're all in against me, man. You didn't believe what I'm up against. So, right here, Brigham City's the next door community to me. They made a big press conference yesterday, and Holtec's agreed to go in business with Utah to build a nuclear energy reactor. We're going to produce the parts, the whole thing then. So everybody's going crazy. And so, of course, I'm on these chats. Everybody's contacting me because everybody knows I'm the anti-nuclear here. I showed up on the front page of the Salt Lake Tribune. They won't mention my name. They just put pictures and quotes. So, trying to argue with people. Oh my God! The big thesis everybody's telling me is Fukushima never killed anyone. I says, you're looking at the World Health Organization's data. I says, you know who funds the World Health Organization?
Bill Gates.
Yeah, he's the number one funder. Really? You wouldn't believe what I'm up against.
Yeah,
And so,
no, he's the number one funder for people who are not familiar. I screwed up
so
here.
right here,
Go ahead, Kevin.
it's amazing. Fukushima, I mean, but after all these years and all this work right here, and fuck what I'm up against. Oh my God! I mean, well, same thing with you. It's like David versus Goliath, ain't it?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord! Talk about stressed out, lonely battle.
They've been sticking it to just me. You know, there's only a couple of voices. There's less than 5 people out there, and only like
we got no traction.
you're at it constantly. But I don't know many people that are at it constantly, right? There's only 2.
Well, we got no platform.
No.
I mean, fuck. You got 10 people watching. I get fucking 43 views. What the fuck? I mean, they got us so sequestered and hammered down. So, anyway, Trump just gave $1 billion today to OPEC and crew to refire up
Palisades.
3 Mile Island.
Oh, 3 Mile Island.
Oh, no. Yeah, he already did the Palisades money.
Oh,
but
that's
all
right, they
these
did,
things,
yeah.
so-
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
I mean, they got all the money, but they ain't fired nothing back up. But the thing I want people to try to work at, you know, our crowd, because I'm really having trouble with it, is I'm Googling around now. AI's out there, you know, because we can't find out how many nuclear reactors have really been shut down post 2011.
Yeah, I
But
know.
AI
I'm having
showing
a
up
problem with that myself. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Oh, you can't find it. It's so corrupt. So anyway, AI's telling me now that 236 nuclear energy reactors have been shut down post 2011. And I'm like, where the fuck is that in there? I mean, you know, that's
I haven't
well over fucking half of them.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Well, I just, you know, I've been working on it.
Yep.
And so, you know, the ones that have been fired up now. So what I want to tell you is the bottom line is this. And I tell everybody, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this. Nuclear energy is such a dead piece of shit, fucking gonzo technology. I mean, it's over. The propaganda and everything and all the shit, but the reality is this. Your work, my work, you know how many nuclear reactors we've got shut down globally? And they're not coming back.
Well, I do believe that we're having a major impact, and that's why
We did.
That's why we're kettled in, right?
Right. But our toothpaste got out back when we had the whole field. Our toothpaste got out. They're not putting it back in. So the bottom line is this, and I want to tell everybody this. Don't get discouraged. We kicked the fuck out of them, and we're kicking the fuck out of them. You know, their propaganda and their money, they're all getting rich. You know, new scale with their feet up. But the bottom line is this. If these numbers, and I think they are, because if you go to Japan, all of them shut down, Germany shut down, Belgium shut down, Taiwan shut down, Switzerland, we go on and on and on and on. And what have been put on? I've been arguing with people. Tell me how many nuclear reactors we built in the United States.
You know what's interesting?
We built one.
You know what's interesting? Because you just made a great point, and just realized they don't have the infrastructure for building reactors anymore, right?
No.
It takes 1 million companies or something to making parts for a reactor. That's fall apart. Go ahead,
right?
Kevin.
The parts, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so here they're
The
saying
welders.
we're going to do it from the grassroots up. No, they're not. And so here's the thing. The bottom line is, the reality is, you know, that when Fukushima happened, globally, the IAEA reported there was 410 nuclear energy reactors,
Right.
which was probably a pretty accurate number in 2011.
Yeah.
The bottom line, you know how many nuclear reactors I think are actually online today?
No.
And we're talking 14 years past. My estimate, I think there's only about 200.
Wow.
In fact, I think it's less. I think it's more in the 180s. I've been doing a lot of work on this. I think we're clear down to about 180. And, you know, I've been arguing with people today, and I'm like, listen, how many nuclear energy reactors have gone online in the United States in 40 years?
Well,
one.
Right there.
One.
Right, there was one reactor took
Georgia.
40 years to come online.
Oh, that's the other one. Yeah, they both did, but that was
But
that
they
was,
started
the
building
one
it.
in TVA.
Yeah, that was. And I usually know the name.
TVA reactor.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, the TVA reactor in Maryland. Yeah, Watts Bar.
Watts Bar. Thank you.
Watts Bar took 40-something years to build, so you can't count that one.
No, that's right.
Over 40 years. And the head of the NRC
That shows the desperation, see?
Yeah, and so they're but they did put on the one in Georgia, and there's supposedly there's 2 reactors at Vogel, $40 billion. But okay, so I start telling people, let's start talking about how many we shut down. San Onofre, 2 reactors down. Duane Arnold, 1 reactor down. How about Pilgrim, 2 reactors. Yankee, 1 reactor. Palisades, 2 reactors. Indian Point, 2 reactors. Oyster Creek, 6. And I'm like, they're all down. 3 Mile Island down. And yet they're telling us there's a nuclear reactor. What kind of math do you fuckheads do? Are you crazy? And so globally, and I wanted to tell you this, Dana, and everybody else, it's been a hard, long battle for you, for I, over since Fukushima happened. I mean, we've had health issues, we've been slandered, we've been attacked, we've been financially ruined.
Yeah.
Everything. But the bottom line, when it all shakes out, when we're dead, you and I tell my grandkids this, when it all shakes out, it's it.
Yeah.
We kicked their ass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The bottom line is we beat them. They got
100%.
all their money. Yeah, and so
100%.
don't get discouraged. Nobody, our little crowd should be really proud of themselves, what we've accomplished.
We've never given up.
I really believe it.
We never give up.
What's her name in San Diego told me, old lady Donna, who's not Donna Younger Gilmore, the other one, head of the Abalone Coalition. I talked to her before she passed away last year. We had a long conversation right before she was 98. And she says, Kevin, I really believe what you guys have done and our small group has done, the shutdown of these nuclear reactors is the greatest grassroots activism accomplishment in fucking world history.
Yep.
And I says, I agree.
I have to agree.
And so...
No, we brought it to him, man. We went to war, and we're still going to war every day. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, we did. And there was a time when we had millions and millions and millions, and anybody was watching it.
Yeah, no, I had
anybody that mattered.
They took down my
fuck,
site.
I used to get 1,000 emails a fucking day from anybody who was anybody inside. That's why they hired the teams of trolls and went after us. And went crazy after us.
They were methodical, eh? I should do a big presentation on all of that. I gathered up. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Attacking me while I'm in critical condition, which are felonies in all 50 states.
It is, yeah. They're still doing it, man. They're still brutal. They got me
yeah.
I'm brutalized.
Like
what they done to me, holy shit,
Oh, me too.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they're still
Operation Long Jump, they launched against me. It was a big success. Let's put it that way.
Well, what they did is they've got us so kettled now that you can't fucking find us. And, and we're repetitive. That's what my one buddy says. Well, fuck, it's like a broken record. And I says, you think?
And we got AI now. They're going to use AI to bludgeon us.
Well, AI's been helping me because, and they'll circle the wagon. By why AI's new, the AI new is starting to let some of this stuff out of the bag. So, because they haven't kettled it up
yet.
Is, so these numbers...
No, one side is good, the other side is...
Yeah, there's 2 sides there too. There's always
now they can now they're using AI to find out who's watching our videos, right? And they're able to edit. They're able to edit
for a long time.
Yeah, they're able to edit the videos too, right? Really well within seconds. They're able to analyze it and edit out and replace certain words, right? It's really technology is just insane. Go ahead.
Oh, the kettling. I mean, the kettling started in 2018.
Yeah.
And they admitted that. And so they've admitted that, and they've admitted that. But the bottom line is, I want to start doing more work on this and getting this narrative out to the public. Look, the reality is this. 410 nuclear energy reactors on March 10th, 2011. The reality is there's about 180. And we got a renaissance. That's, what we've been able to accomplish.
Kevin, I got it there tonight. I'll get to it later, hopefully. I looked up the world electricity use every hour. What's the continuous use worldwide? It's about 3,345 gigawatts. This year alone, we're expecting 924 gigawatts of solar power to come online. So that's 27% of the world's total electricity in just 12 months of just renewables. That is impressive. Yeah.
And with the nuclear industry,
they're going crazy.
clearly there's no nuclear renaissance. So you got the same gigawatts as you had at best in the early 90s. And then the reality of it was that we're seeing total panic constantly in the industry with this, as you say, right, with the nuclear renaissance. That's a panic response.
Right, and it's money.
Yeah.
I mean, Congress passed it. It is a panic. And so, like here in Utah, where I live, the sun shines 320 days a year here, all day, every day.
That's pretty cool.
So that's what this whole thing. And so we're not sore here. We use Warren Buffett owns Rocky Mountain Power and the coal plants. All our electricity, believe it or not, in Utah still comes from dirty coal. And that's what this nuclear, and I try telling people, that's why they're pushing this nuclear hub and this nuclear propaganda, so they can steal the money away from solar to keep coal alive. It has nothing to do with nuclear energy, because nuclear energy is fucking dead, I told you.
And it's, it's disgustingly
dead.
dirty, too. It's the dirtiest technology we've ever seen. Go ahead.
Oh, dirty, filthy, deadly, fucking Fukushima. I mean, so what I think is subconsciously, synonymously, over time, well, right here, right now, everybody on the planet that has anything to do with nuclear energy or any, when they think about it, you know what they think about? Kevin Blanch and Dana Durnford. We've penetrated their fucking subconscious so radically, so hardcore. I mean, I get people calling me off the hook because this article broke yesterday. The first person I thought of was you, and I said, yeah, of course. So the propaganda, I don't know, it ain't going to ever work. So, you know, I just, it's just the way it is.
Never
People
switch.
need to.
Never, yeah, well.
We're never going to get credit. You know, we're like the Semmelweis. You know who Semmelweis was, the germ theory doctor.
It could go many different ways. That's the thing about it. We don't know, right? If, the story, if it did break, we're so versed in the narrative at this stage, they're in real trouble, man. They can't win.
They won't debate us. They won't talk to us.
No, I'm just saying, like, if, you know how there are certain examples of Rupert Murdoch, when they found that he was stealing the phone messages from missing children's telephones to put in these stories to bring people to his to buy his papers. He was actually hacking.
I remember.
He was hacking their telephones, right? There was over a
Piers
billion.
Morgan was doing that.
Yeah, there was 1 billion people started up Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and everything else accounts just to yell at him, at least once. There was over 1 billion accounts that were started up. They yelled at him, and then they probably never got used again because people were so upset, and that went so viral.
Yeah.
They might have learned their lesson, right? But it could still happen again. Is all I'm saying. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
The bottom line is, I'm one of these guys. I don't give a shit about propaganda. Okay.
No,
I give a shit. It's just like beating cancer. I mean, the bottom line, I'm a 1%er. The bottom line, I did beat it, and that's it. The bottom line is the reality of the true numbers. How much we beat the fuck out of them.
We beat them.
And so,
like, they've never been beat. They've
big time.
felt the heat, the truth. Because when they watch your videos, my videos, they can't forget that. They can't.
No, right. And I'll tell you why. Because we were right.
Yeah.
It played out. I mean, we took a lot of risk in those early days.
And
a
lot of them are compartmentalized, right? A lot of those players, they don't know the big picture. They come across you or me, and they're like, "Oh, crap!" Well, they don't know, and they don't care after because they're so deep into it, and their friends all tell them they're heroes, and they're so proud of them. Like,
well, it's money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much money in being a fucking lying piece of shit, and so that they know. But the bottom line, though, is, and I've been doing a lot of work the last 2 days on this.
Sure.
Because AI is getting it out there now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 50-something reactors in Japan alone. They haven't refired them up. And Germany is 20, and they're never refiring those up. Belgium knocked down 6. Taiwan, Switzerland, and we can go on and on and on and on. In the United States, they'll say, oh, we knocked down 12. No, we've knocked down over 20.
The embrittlement, right, of the reactors is well known. But when you shut it off for several years, that embrittlement doesn't go away, right? It's
right.
That neutron absorption
still there forever.
It is now it's when it's running, there's a certain thing that happens. But when you shut it off for a while, the integrity of it goes a lot quicker than if you had to keep it running. And so they're faced with these incredible, prohibitively expensive problems that they just can't solve. They don't have the welders to build the reactors in France. So how are they going to find them to build them a nuclear renaissance everywhere else? How's just that fast?
Yeah, how are they going to fire up 3 Mile Island again? Yeah, right. Or Palisades. Like I said, they don't have the equipment. They don't have the fucking craftsmen. They don't have anything. And like I said, even if they did, the danger of doing that is so radical and so crazy. So they're just looting and stealing money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Small modular reactors and fusion. That's some scam, eh? Wow. For the investors.
It's the biggest scam in history. They're all over here, and I'm like, NuScale ripped us off in Utah for $1 billion right out of our bill, and I documented that from day one.
You're right. And they're suing NuScale in the class action suit too, right?
Well, there's lots of as far as stock market
from the original investors.
It went down to $2.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it went down to $2 and went clear up to $50, and now it's back down to $20. But it's scamming. But the bottom line, the original funding was a scam. I was in the Capitol, in their face. I've been at Idaho National Lab, right in their face so many times.
Yeah, you have so.
And it was all a scam the whole time. The SMR scam thing blows my mind that it's still going on, and it just more money. And it's the greatest pump and dump. It's the greatest scam in stock market history. I mean, here's Sam Altman's got his company out there, and even the Financial Times reported recently he raised $20 billion in his stock offering, and they have not one dime of revenue or one product. That's never happened in the history of the stock market.
That's right. I got that story there. I'll never get to it, but I got that story there.
It's insane.
Yep. I read that, and I was like, oh, my God. I said, I can beat that one up, and just got so much scumbag nuclear coming at me, I can't keep up with it. Just like if you don't cover it on the day, that's why we're doing a 2-hour presentation each time or show. Like if I don't cover it that day, that has to go down the black hole because tomorrow is another. What the hell is going on with this planet stuff coming at me? You can't keep up.
Yeah, another wave of propaganda every day. No, you can't. It's overwhelming.
You can't challenge every story in 24 hours. You can't. You can't read it. I come close to it a few times. No, refresh the page and.
The summer of 2024, when they got through the Advanced Nuclear Act through Congress, I knew we were fucked. And the Advanced Price Center, inside that act, which is tied to the NEI, which is the propaganda wing of the nuclear industry,
the Biden administration. Yeah, for folks that don't know.
Well, all administration. Well, this was the Trump administration last year that
got it through. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Trump administration got it through last year.
Oh, right. Yeah, I covered some of that. Go ahead.
And only 10 senators voted against. Only 2 senators. Bernie Sanders voted against it, and Merkel from me. Yeah, but it went 88 to 10 of Sanders. But when they got it through, you know how much in that bill is purely tagged for purely propaganda, paid influencers, whatever. There's several $1 billion. Yeah. For just pure
just for
newspapers, influencers, writers, public relation firms.
That's right.
Several $1 billion are
because there's over 1,000 of them, right, that they use, and so and they're greedy.
You're talking. I tagged it black and yellow journalism a long time ago, but the problem is there's no accountability for these lying criminal bastards, and they're getting paid big money, and then there's guys like you and I that have no money. I just get beat up.
I felt that when that was announced, we covered it, and I think I might even mention it, but I felt that. The administration, the current administration in the United States, was painfully aware that the nuclear industry was going nowhere, but that it was unbelievably influential, and that they can give them, and they give them. Every administration gives them all the money they ever want, but they can't produce nothing. Because 90% is stolen through administration, right? As we know now from all the Superfund sites turns into the Go ahead.
The easiest way on earth to get rich.
Yeah, it is so. Be pro-nuclear.
Be a pro-nuclear fucking, whether it's a hack, a journalist, a reactor, a company. It's free money from the government.
Go to university.
Bryce Anderson, you don't have to pay back.
Go to university, get your physics degree or nuclear science degrees, nuclear engineering degree.
Which I have.
Start up a little company. Yeah, start up a little company. that's pro-nuclear and come up with some fantasy. Everybody's going to get a small modular reactor or fission butt plug, and it doesn't matter what it is, and you'll get absurd amount of money thrown at you.
And send it in a DOE, and that's right. I graduated from the #1 school in the fucking United States, and the Water School, which is the CEO of GE. We just had this conversation today. So I have degrees and credentials out the yin yang from that fucking university. And these guys that go to work for the labs, I mean, they're the #1. This university was the #1 student propped up of graduates go to work at the labs. Livermore or Los Alamos or Idaho National Lab or Oak Ridge. The #1 school in the country is my school. And, they're the pro-nuclear. Well, the Water School, E.O. Wattis was the CEO of GE. I mean, so that's what I'm up against. I'm inside the belly of the beast. But so I've dealt with the propaganda and the pork for decades, but not like it is now. I mean, I'm nervous because, like you said, they know the technology is over. They know it's fucking dead. They're parking the clunker on the side of the road and radiating the fucking earth and just looting every dime.
They're insane.
And the looters are the same clan as the Epstein clan. They're the BB, they're the Middle
that's right.
Eastern
100%, yeah. No, they're
Bill
severely
Gates,
compromised before they get into those doors.
They're sick of, and then Jeff Bezos. I mean, there's a reason Epstein Ranch was at Los Alamos, and Jeff Bezos.
That's right. Yeah, no, good point.
Grandfather is the original Department of Atomic, which is the Department of Energy. And that's Jeff Bezos' grandpa.
The inbreeding chain, right? Because a lot of people don't appreciate how that history worked. So for people that are not aware, during the Manhattan Project, they had tens of thousands of scientists, and they were learning about the nuclear process, trying to make weapons, right? And because of Einstein's E equals MC squared. And so
Einstein hated them.
Let me finish. What they done, just because people out there don't understand, what they had done was they hired tens of thousands of spies to spy on the scientists, so they wouldn't leak the secret out to the Soviet Union and everybody else. And then they hired tens of thousands of more spies to spy on the 10,000 spies and spy on the scientists also to make sure the spies were being truthful, weren't compromised. And so then they hired another tens of thousands. And then that secrecy, that was all under a Secrecy Act. And that is still active today. That is still funded. That whole program is still being funded today. So when Kevin's talking about, your dad died right from those experiments as a soldier. He was ordered to get up and walk right into the nuclear plume. That was murder.
Yeah, right.
That was murder.
Yeah,
your dad was murdered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, boy. So, I got the breaking news for you. So, a lot of people have been wondering. I've been hesitant to tell everybody, but you know who went down this rabbit hole, kicked down on the spies of the Manhattan and this whole inbreeding and who they are, who was the best in the world out? That was Lauren Monet. You remember her?
Lauren, yeah, that's right.
She's dead.
She died.
I found this out recently.
She's one of the reasons I'm here. She's one of the bigger reasons I'm here. I'm learning a lot, but
this is coming.
Her lectures were really.
Apparently, she passed away 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I didn't know, and you can't find anything, whatever. But I knew her really well from my days at Berkeley and my days, when she was at UC Davis, clear back in the day.
Right.
I used to go to her coffee shop in Berkeley, and the Manhattan Project scientists back in the early 80s, that she had that symposium in that cafe, they would come in there. She knew them all personally.
Yeah, I actually called her up a few times, and she was all guns a-blazing, man. She was really something. She was a firecracker. She was a firecracker.
Well, she had an IQ so high that it would blow your fucking mind.
Oh, man.
And then she would go down the rabbit hole on
whatever
inbreeding and these lines. You'd mention her name like I'd mention Baylor. She would go all the way back and tie everything in.
She was very unusual. She was in the know. And, she was in the know. She was participating. She was flying all over the place and getting involved in all of these presentation lectures and everything else. And she was making enemies the whole time, right?
Well, I was at a lecture of hers in 2004.
That's sad news to hear, yeah. She's gone.
2004, I was at a lecture of hers in California, and she was asked, and she says, well, you keep saying we're going to get this major nuclear disaster. Where's it going to happen? She says, I'll tell you where it's going to happen right now. And they said, where? She says, Fukushima Daiichi. And she says, and let me tell you the story, how I know this. She says, she was a real beautiful young genius, 16 years old at UC Davis. And she says, I was sick of all the guys chasing me, all these nuclear physicists and scientists. They wanted me to go work at Livermore. I was there. I couldn't stand the creeps, and they were always trying to get on me. So I got so frustrated, I went to the San Francisco airport, and I had a pocket full of money in my purse, and she says, where's the next international flight going? And she says, well, that one right there is headed to Japan. She says, here, buy me a ticket. And she went, and for some reason, she ended up in Fukushima. And this is clear back in the day, and she says, and the activists that were in Japan, they were protesting Fukushima clear back then. And we're talking way back when it was first built.
Right. TEPCO's history. Go ahead, Kevin. It's really terrible, folks.
And so she says, that's when I learned and that's when I knew. And she says, always intuitively, I always knew. And me and her talked about this a lot. So I used to do my lectures at the university when I was still teaching before they blackballed me. And people would ask me the same thing. Well, where's this meltdown going to happen? You keep saying. I said, Fukushima, Japan, or Sinanofri, or Diablo Canyon.
Santa Susana.
And, they're on the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
And so when it happened at Fukushima, because I used to do the due diligence for the university on the nuclear reactors. I'm the guy that broke down how much the General Electric Mach 1, Mach 2s, which were built by Utah Construction right here, I used to do the due diligence on what they could handle for quake. I knew they couldn't handle anything overnight. When I saw it tonight, I knew they were Mach 1, Mach 2 GE reactors, and I knew it was over. And I thought, well, that's the end of the nuclear industry. Part of me was happy that day. Because I thought the nuclear industry's over, but I didn't realize the propaganda would be this extreme. But the bottom line, the nuclear industry is over. But like you said, it's poisoned the planet forever.
Oh, yeah, the fallout from the fuel pools. Yeah, we're done.
How many
we don't need nuclear
meltdowns.
We just need fuel pools.
No.
Splitting atoms into the environment 24 hours a day. Hey, listen, what are you up to? You doing anything in the next couple of weeks? Any big...
No, I was going to go to the tide pools, but I ended up with... I'm raising my grandson.
Oh, right, you told me that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, what I'm doing here, I'm really busy here fighting.
Sure.
This is, the Utah is becoming the nuclear hub.
It is, isn't it?
They passed the bill. Yeah. Well, they passed the law, but I was in the legislature fighting them all year last year. It's just me against them. I'm it. And they wanted $220 million, and I kept battling about it. And they ended up voting, and I'm talking to every single legislator personally. They all know me personally. And I'm like, no. So they said, well, what we're going to do, Kevin? Yeah, we passed it, but we pulled the guts out of it. So we only got a couple million. And so it was a big win for me, but they're doubling down. So that's what I'm up against right now.
Oh, my goodness.
They're still Brigham City, and so it's me against all them. But
it's bizarre, isn't it?
I showed up on the I showed up on the front page of the Salt Lake Tribune with my sign, Nuclear Equals Cancer, on my back on the front page. But of course they won't. Nobody will put my name in print, just like yours. They act like we're fucking, I don't know what. It's like taboo to mention your name.
Yeah.
But they know.
If their families find us and listen to our material, they're going to realize that their loved ones are freaking monsters of the worst. They're serial killers on a scale we never believed possible.
Right.
That's what a pro-nuclear
right.
industry representative actually is, right?
They have listened to us, Dana. They have listened to us over the years. You know how many millions and millions of people have listened to you and I? Yeah, they ain't going to forget it.
Well, but this is what I like about the industry for many years was that they were cocky. And so they would come there and figure they can find some holes in my game or your game. And then they're stuck with that narrative for the rest of their lives in their head, realizing they actually really are bad, and people do know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty devastating. It's devastating to their egos, eh? Because, for 80 years, I've been telling people it's like a banana and a potato chip, or walking in the sunshine, and they do it to their friends. They do it to their loved ones. And when they come to our sites and try to do it to us, it backfires. Yeah, go ahead.
A guy told me today, just know this, that Fukushima was only as much radiation as a banana. He actually said that to me today. I'm like, I'm not even going to respond, you stupid motherfucker.
I dread the day someone says that to me.
Fuck. They said it directly.
I don't know how I'm going to react to it. It's not going to be. It's most likely going to be hilarious. It's most likely going to be hilarious.
Now that I got a pacemaker, I'm the kinder, gentler, Kevin. The old days, I blasted the fucker right in the mouth. But you know how I used to be.
I got a pacemaker.
I'm the kinder, gentler now. Yeah, I got a pacemaker now.
Got to be realistic. I'm not getting younger, so
me neither.
I'm changed. My whole life changed about 8 days ago, and focus on health.
Yeah.
And so now I'm interested in doing eating and breathing and sleeping and doing the proper kind of stuff to try to make my, I was a commercial diver. I was a commercial diver for 15 or 14 years, and I have over 10,000 hours on the ocean floor. And so I got injured. I should have retired.
I remember.
I should have retired, and so my health is severely compromised anyway. My bones are compromised, but it took me 10 years to learn to walk again, and 10 years to get out of a hospital bed, and 5 years to learn to walk again. So I got incredibly educated when I was in my bed, because all I can do was internet stuff. So I started studying all the major shakers and movers for all that whole time, and I was becoming a fairly knowledgeable activist back in those days. And so to still be going today, 24 years later, is
it's a miracle.
I would never change that whole. It wasn't fun, but I wouldn't change that experience, because I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have that resolve.
You know what Shakespeare used to call that? His glowing line: "Sweet are the uses of adversity." Yeah. I went into a bone marrow transplant given 2 months to live on 11/11/11. You can't make it up. I mean, I have AML de novo. There's no surviving that. I've had my chest not open completely. My heart pulled out twice.
I got
my valve.
I got put in a wheelchair on March 11th.
Was it really on March 11th?
2001.
Oh, really? It was that day?
That day, yeah.
Holy fuck. Wow.
That's crazy,
yeah, There's something in the cosmos, man, I'm telling you. By the way, speaking of March 11th, did you know the Spanish flu was declared in 2017 by the World Health Organization as the pandemic on March 11th?
Right, yeah, I do so.
Did you
that
know
was so strange, man. Go ahead.
Did you know that COVID was declared in 2020 as
March
the
11th.
pandemic on March? And they originally called it Kobe.
Oh, is that what they called it? Yeah.
Kobe's originally they called it Kobe. And what is Kobe? It's the old Japanese word for the great. So they knew it. People can argue it all the way, but I still say the pandemic came from the Fukushima mutation. I
had an incident happen to me when I was a kid. I was 13 years old, and that's one of the reasons I do the things I'm doing today. Was this incident I had happen out in Mother Nature. I've never told people what happened to me, and I won't be doing it tonight either. But I had an event that happened to me that was right out of a science fiction book when I was 13 years old, and set me on the course to get educated and do the things I'm doing today. And I'm not saying what happened, but I've told my family about it, and they laughed at me back in those days, right, when it happened. They said, nah, it's just a kid's imagination, right? And I believed them in many ways, right? I just thought it was crazy.
Well, you know what Einstein said?
Yeah.
You know what Einstein said? Because Einstein wasn't that great of a mathematician, but he was the greatest philosopher. I mean, he was all over all this. He said he had a dream when he was an 11-year-old boy that light bent. And he held on to the dream. And the light bending is the theory of relativity.
Yeah.
And if you read into Einstein, Oppenheimer hated Einstein. They hated each other. Einstein was the fiercest, most radical anti-nuclear activist in history.
I've seen that, yeah.
And
so was Oppenheimer,
he said
right?
it was all from his intuitive... Oppenheimer's a piece of shit. Oppenheimer's a fucking mass murdering criminal.
No, I know, but
Zionist cult member.
He did have descending... Like, he was chased out of it by the...
After the fact.
Long after the fact, yes.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying he was a good. I'm not saying he's a good guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying
no,
that.
they went after him after. They blackballed him. But the bottom line is,
Go ahead. I'm
everybody
sorry.
backed
Go
out
ahead,
of the Mountain.
Kevin. Yeah.
Everybody backed out of the Manhattan Project.
Long
Everybody,
after. That's right.
No, before it happened. In 1943, they got communique back from Germany, and the line was, baby never born, mother never pregnant. They knew for a fact that Germany didn't have it, so everybody left the Manhattan Project, including Leo Strauss. Leo Strauss lived next door to my grandfather, and Lauren Monet knew him personally. I met him several times when I was a real, real little boy. He died when I was a little kid. But he was the guy who wrote the letter, not Einstein. And all those people backed out. They said, no, we're not dropping it. Nobody. The only person that agreed to drop it was that piece of shit Oppenheimer and Teller. Oppenheimer and Teller, and of course Truman. Everybody else.
And who was the other one? There was
were all
Oppenheimer,
almost-
Teller, and there was a third guy who was instrumental.
Yeah. Well, Fermi left. Lazar left. You know, they all left. The people that, that left the Manhattan, they said, no, we're out. We're not dropping this. We're not doing this. And the only reason they dropped him is because Stalin said, we're going in and taking Japan on August 15th. The only reason they did it. And they're mass murders. The only people to use it. I mean, and it was that Oppenheimer was one of the greatest creeps that ever walked the planet.
100%, yeah. No, what he done was unforgivable, right? But I have listened. I have listened to the historical lectures that have come out of some of the major shakers in Harvard University and Yale and that, and where he does 2 or 3 hour lectures, right? And he's definitely singing the pro-nuclear community's narrative, but there is some stuff he's saying there that is quite confusing when it's coming from a person. It was Oppenheimer, Teller, and I can't remember the other guy's name. It's important.
Teller, people, they hide where Teller's buried. I know where Teller's buried. You know where Teller's buried? And it isn't secret stuff, supposedly. He's buried at Stanford.
Is that right?
The Stanford's the head of the snake. They're fucking evil.
Yeah, there's something
That's where Beckman Frye
MIT and Stanford.
MIT's the head of the snake.
Promoted the nuclear industry, no matter how hideous it was. And what they done to the children... What they done to children for radiation experiments? My goodness,
boy.
Right?
Well,
Wasn't
think about this. When Abe came to the United States, was the first Japanese PM to come here only one time ever before. Remember when he came here, and he wasn't the PM. Ned O'Connor was the PM when it happened, who came up and gave me a hug and told me thank you at Delmar for my work. The Prime Minister of Japan come up and hugged me. Yes. But that piece of shit Abe, remember when he came to the U.S.? Remember where he went secretly, and it was our group that followed him over there? MIT Media Lab.
Who was it?
Abe,
Shinzo Abe. Shinzo Abe.
Yeah, he went to MIT Media Lab. Now, why the fuck would he go there? Do you know that's where all the fucking PhDs are?
When he got shot, when he got assassinated, I probably watched that video. I watched that. I had that on a loop the entire day.
Yeah, you said you hadn't got a pizza and had a party.
I had it on loop the entire day, buddy. And, that was a good time.
But he went to MIT, and, everything's running out of MIT. Did you know Donald John Trump? His middle name is John. You know who John Trump is?
Yeah, that was, he went and got...
That's the MIT media. That's the MIT...
Right. He went and got, don't tell me, he went and got, what's this guy who done all the patents?
Yeah, he stole Tesla's patents out of his room.
Yeah, but...
John Trump.
Yeah, but what... I can't remember his name now. Nikola Tesla, right?
Yeah, Tesla. I mean, that's John Trump. That's Trump's
he's the
uncle.
guy who went there and
MIT.
got all the secret stuff Tesla still haven't exposed.
Right.
Like most of his patents are what we're working. The whole planet is working on today, right? And he was talking about a device that could do what we're seeing today with lasers and that, right?
Oh, yes.
I like that whole rabbit hole is something, Kevin. Go ahead.
Oh, boy. But anyway, everything leads to MIT. So I have these, in the early days when I was really involved, all the students from MIT used to watch my videos, and she's of Japanese descent who runs that program there. And they says, my name would get brought up in their nuclear physicist class at MIT. She fucking absolutely hated me. And I'm like, yeah, I'll bet she did hate me. So I had a lot of them come to me, in California, they'd come visit, whatever. Hey, we want to talk to you. We're at her program at MIT. But MIT is where it's all rent from, all of it.
Yeah, MIT has been the
Media
backbone
lab.
of the nuclear industry, folks. Who's not
Yes.
aware? Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, the CIA, too.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where the whole thing's run. Well, the CIA and the nuclear industry are hand in hand. They're one
The
and the same.
spy. That was the foundation for their money for the spies.
Yeah.
Like the nuclear
All right,
industry,
I'll let
folks
you
don't.
go.
Yeah, the nuclear industry. People don't realize what Kevin's saying. Who's not familiar with this stuff? What he's saying is true. Okay, Kevin.
Oh, I
God
go down
bless.
this level. But but
God
don't
bless
get
you.
discouraged. Everything. The bottom line,
Not me, man.
our work's not done, but
Nope.
we've kicked their ass, and that's just the reality of it.
No, I've not. I've
And it'll
I've felt
all
that
shake
too.
out that way.
I felt that too.
It
Right?
is going to shake out that way.
Yeah, they're not
All right.
censoring us off the planet because we're not effective. They're not. They don't challenge us because
Right.
they
If
can't.
you're on CNN or Fox News, or you've got a podcast that's going really great, you're not effective. They ain't letting nobody effective up. They're not letting nobody with any. You're never going to get
Our
a platform.
voices are never going away, man. Okay,
Yeah,
God,
we're the new Semmelweis. All right.
okay, God bless, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you
Yeah,
again in
take
the
care,
near
bye.
future. Okay, take care. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. That was Kevin Blanche, folks, who's arguably one of the most unique activists, if that's what you want to call him. He's been at this persistently since he was a child. He's been to every nuclear protest that a man can travel to. And many times he was the only guy there protesting. He's traveled around the world to different places to protest the nuclear industry. And in the circle of nuclear, he's one and only, right? And the things that he physically showed up at so many protests worldwide, it's absurd. And he's vocal. He's not doing anything wrong. He's just desperately trying to get people to come to their senses. I focus on Fukushima a lot because Fukushima is such an event, right? That it deserves the prominence. It deserves utmost respect. And the industry is desperate for the conversation to go away. And you can't blame them. The Fisher story is 2.2 grams got out of 4 buildings like this. At the top of each of the buildings were 8 reactor cores and 2 fuel pools. So there's 36 massive reactor cores, say, compared to Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a graphite reactor. It was a new reactor. It was a small reactor. Yeah, so Lauren is, Morag is gone. That's incredible. I've talked to her, fortunately, a number of times. Not many times, but a number of times. I called her up. And, when YouTube first came online, I can't remember. It was a long time ago anyway. They didn't have the censorship you have right now. And so back in those days, there was all kinds of things you can get away with. And so for on the days I never had nothing to do, I was uploading short clips of Lauren onto YouTube. Now, in those days, there was like 240 countries that you can set your account to. And so when you put up the videos, you can have, you can post your videos under other people's videos. And so you didn't have to ask, you just go in there and click and you go post a video, you pick one of your videos, and it would show up under their videos. And so the nuclear industry, I went on the attack, and some days I was producing 1,100 short clips, like 30-second clips, 1-minute clips, but really important documentation about depleted uranium, for instance. And I'd done that for several years, and they built their filters basically to try to shut me down, right? And so there was many tricks where they can take down all your videos. They eventually figured out you were using this email or that email, so then they were able to take down some of your sites that way. But they were basically targeting the format of your video. So I would have to change the formats constantly on my videos. And I waged a war for years by posting thousands of videos each week on other people's videos, short clips. And Lauren Murray was unbelievably unique and active and vocal. And so that's what and she was honest. And so that's what I worked with, right? So I made sure that her voice reached far and wide. Country. Now, China was unique. China used to block every one of my sites. And it wasn't just YouTube, by the way, I was doing that on. And so that information is still out there on other sites, I can guarantee you. She hated the nuclear industry. And she told me about some of her mentors from the universities that she had worked under, and they were doing research on the ocean too. And she said that was why she appreciated me so much. And I told her this stuff, right? I told her what I had done for her for several years straight in order to get her voice heard, right? Because that's what it was all about. So imagine if you had 6 or 7 people like me out there doing it at the same time before the censorship, the algorithms and everything were finally developed. So I was at this before all that was developed, and I watched that whole development all the way up until now. So I'm I kept a methodical and meticulous record of that stuff, by the way, because I'm a pack rat when it comes to nuclear. At one point, I had 7,000 lectures on nuclear when I was in the hospital bed, 24 hours a day. I had a home care 24 hours a day. And so I went to nuclear to escape, because I was a commercial diver. I was making a fortune every day, and I was living the dream, right? I was out 6 hours a day on the ocean floor, 100 days straight, 300-400 days, sometimes with just a couple of days off in between each trip before you finally take like 2 weeks off. And then you knew that eventually this industry was going to fade away. So, right, it's only going to last for a few years was the theory, so I might as well stay there. But I ended up, because I was out there for so long, at one point I was running 10, 12 commercial dive boats with a barge for 2 years. And the commercial dive boats, they had crews coming back and forth on float planes and packers and that. And so you had to train every crew for each boat, and then you had to teach each crew, each radar is different, each sounder is different, each VHF is different, each of the compressors for your dive tanks are different, and got little quirks and little, the engines are different on each boat, the filters are different on all the equipment. And so I was always preparing, and I was diving 6 hours a day on the ocean floor myself. Plus I managed everybody, right? I managed the whole operation for 2 years. And I loved it. I had a list of, I always had a list of 1,000 jobs. 100 jobs. And so when anybody asked me to come in to give me a hand, I say, well, pick out a job you think you can do, or I'll help you. And let's get after it. And that was my favorite stuff, being busy as frig. And getting on the ocean floor and hanging out with the creatures, that was my favorite. It was all about that. It was all about guaranteeing myself a job and making myself indispensable. And no matter who you were, if you needed an engine hauled apart or you needed something swapped out on your engines or something was broke, that was my job, to get in there and keep everything working, make everybody's paychecks out, make sure all their expenses came off, make sure they got whatever they wanted, because they're divers, so they're weird like me. And so if they want, you got an order coming out. So I was intimately communications with the suppliers, with the supermarkets. I knew, I call up and put this one on the phone, put this guy on the phone, and whatever I wanted or whatever I said, they go drive all over the city to get the parts for me too, and send that out on the packers or float planes. And so the idea was, downtime was a nightmare. I've seen a number of occasions where I ordered a float plane 200 miles off the coast, up the coastline in the middle of nowhere for just a belt because part of the operation was shut down, and that you're talking about absurd money every day. I'm starting to blow my own whistle. That's not good. But the reason, all that training, all that hard work, all that commitment that I had for all those years as a commercial diver is what allowed me to go out on these extensive, insane research expeditions and put together these operations. Like, so to put together these operations and go out on the ocean for 4 to 5 months every year was insane. You had to build everything. You had to get the whole operation together. You had to have something that's going to work every single day. So the sailboat tows the big boat. The little boat goes on top of the big boat. When you get at your site, the little boat goes in the water. And each boat got double engines because you can't row these little boats. And there's 27,000 islands. So you need another engine that's going to start up every time for you, right? And so you tow that all over the coastlines because Fukushima really did melt down. The radioactive fallout really did happen. And this was an event. And we went from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska for 6 years. And the reason we done the extra time was because in the first year, the species to your left were gone. Now, I kept looking for an oasis. I kept expecting to find what I was used to seeing, right? And it wasn't. It was gone. And all these places I've been to many, many times with the fleets. And the species to your left are exterminated. Now, at the high tide line, and you never put my Zodiac on a beach, like, unless it was a hard bottom, you would never go near the beach because of the sea urchins. At one time, actually, I used to pick 20,000 of these red, purple sea urchins each day for Japan. And they were going down about $1,400 a kilogram for the uni inside of it, which is the reproductive organs. Like cotton candy if you eat it. I used to eat about 18 of these sea urchins on the ocean floor every day, no matter where I was towed. Rather than come up and get a lunch, I would eat scallop. I would crack a scallop shell open and take the shell and scrape it out. I never carried a knife with me because you would always lose it. And you got a tendency to spend a lot of money on the diver's knives. I lost so many of them, I stopped carrying knives with me. And so my knives were already right there on the ocean floor with me. They were shells. There was this one place. Now, this is a regular sight for me. This was something I was really used to. That many starfish, that was normal. You would feel guilty when you're touched down on the ocean floor because it's impossible not to squat or kill something, right? So you would feel guilty when you were working in those areas. The radioactive fallout wiped out the entire Pacific Ocean, right? And now we see worldwide that freshwater, saltwater, the phytoplankton is basically gone. My health was gone, but now I'm headed back. And I have, the weekend, instead of doing what I'm supposed to do, I ordered another sauna, infrared sauna, because your sweat is 20% fat because it melts your fat, turns it into water, and 80% water. So you're going to rehydrate every day, but now you're going to lose 20% of your, what they call toxins, right? And I'm planning on starting in the next year more research expeditions. And I already got one operation put together. And the industry is out there to destroy me, so I might as well ignore it and keep working every day because they're not going away. And I'm certainly not going away. And you're not going away, I'm pretty sure. We're not going away. Our job is to hound this industry, hold it accountable. Essentially, Fukushima is a machine that's washing radioactivity into the ocean. It's way worse than that, right? It's so hard for anybody to comprehend it on their own that you can't. And that's the craziest thing about this. This is the French government, 23 days of a spike of cesium-137 at 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air covering the entire planet. This is 23 days of radioactive fallout. Do you think it's stopped? And do you think that's not going to go away ever? You just can't see it or smell it or hear it or feel it or taste it or touch it. And that was just one site. That's reactor 3, the plutonium mixed oxide reactor. But see, that particular attribute is a catastrophic event for every species on the planet, including you. So just these radioactive plumes, it's hard to appreciate it. You're talking about all the fresh water all the glaciers, which will melt and carry the radiation all over the place, all the estuaries and streams and rivers that are normally dependent upon the glaciers for droughts, now have no glaciers to cool it down in the summertime. So the whole river, all the way to the ocean, is overheated, and which is not habitable for the species. Which is the temperatures are regulated during droughts by the runoff from the glaciers far in the interior. Cesium remained dispersed throughout the water column from the surface to the ocean floor. That kind of says it all, because first off, you can't just have cesium. If you got cesium, you got every other isotope. And there's 100 for every cesium-137. Fukushima radiation still circling the globe. Levels consistently rise and fall in the 40-day cycle. Let's look at it. Levels consistently rise and fall in the 40-day cycle. But they're not saying that there's a plume that's going around the planet. They're saying there's a plume circling continuously, covering the whole planet, that is in different numbers, but it's still symmetrical. So I get it. Like, it's really hard to comprehend how that equates to an extinction event, right? But it does, right? It breaks the food chain from the phytoplankton, and then the attributes from it. I mean, the government come out and suggested that cancer, because we were doing research expeditions at this time, we being me, and the people that were supporting me. I was on the ocean July 7, 2016, showing that the coastline was stripped. And so the media came out with one kick at the can, suggesting cancer was spreading from one species to another species to another species to all the species, and that's why they died. Cancer was spreading like a virus from one species to another species and wiping them out, which is absurd to suggest is possible. But that was their version. Oh, we don't know why, but that's what's happening. Because they were trying to counter, because there was a lot of people paying attention to my research expeditions. Universities used to contact me in the chat room you're in right now, and they would attack me there because I wouldn't take their papers, I wouldn't take their scientists for interviews, I wouldn't take their money. Because I wanted to be independent. I don't work for anybody. Because I can't have control, right? I work for this planet. I work for the people that support me, and the people that have who don't know I exist, and their friends, their family. I work for the academics, their friends, their families, their loved ones who hate me. I'm trying to save them too. I'm trying to save their children, their friends, their families. The people that are sent for me, I work for them too, right? To try to save them and their friends and their families from the heartaches. I'm not selfish like them. This is a bridge whale right there. That was a couple of weeks ago. That bridge whale over there is actually emaciated. What do you call this one? And this was a grainy picture. It was the only picture that came out of India. And it'll be in my next die-off video. I'll bring all that information to the forefront again. Which tonight sat at 968. But I have 4 other folders in that same folder. So there's 968 screen captures of die-offs like this. And almost all, not all whales, but all the whales are emaciated. Look at this whale here. This is an apex predator that eats 240 species. We're seeing this all over the place. Killer whales emaciated. And so the real theory would be that they have bioaccumulated so much radiation that they have blood cancer. So they're not able to uptake nutrition. Even though there's food there for them to eat, there's, there's so many emaciated whales. It's not just killer whales, but that's the one that gets all the attention. This was in New Zealand a few months back. Well, I think it was June or July. You see the rib cages right there. And when you're looking at the tail, if you know anything about whales, you know that's an emaciated whale. You can see the backbones, but you can see the peanut head there. If you're familiar with the killer whales, you'll recognize that. This was last week. This was a humpback whale. This emaciation is getting worse this last year. we've seen lots, and I mean thousands of emaciated whales post-Fukushima. But now, the food chain being broken for so long, it's taken them a year or two to show up with the emaciation. All the gray whales are emaciated that are left. 14,000 died post-Fukushima to 27,000. The 13,000 that are left had no babies, survived last year's migratory run south to the breeding grounds. I've never seen or heard of anything like that before. And they were emaciated when they showed up in Baja, California, or Baja, Mexico. And so now they've gone on their 12,000-mile migratory trip north. They didn't find any food. And they're so emaciated now they're dying all over the place. And the media's out there, every whale, they're like, well, we don't know, it could have been struck by a ship or could have been struck by a UFO or a satellite or something, but can't be starvation. But they admitted with this particular video, I've never seen that kind of starvation. We've seen blatant starvation, by the way. But that whale there, for instance, that was just a week ago. This is 2 weeks ago. There was 26 killer whales washed up. Only got 6 reports on it. But I mean, that humpback whale, look at this. There is no blubber or no meat, literally. They consumed it. They ran until their body gave out. And that starfish today, or that sunfish today, I showed pictures at the beginning. As far as I can tell, that thing wasn't healthy at all. That's why and it shouldn't be here this time of the year because you can get ice pack here this time of the year. And because they're surface fish, they don't normally hang out here this time of the year. I mean, look at this. I said, like, we're seeing the severe emaciations for the last year. Like, severe. Which, there will be no gray whales next year. The ones that are emaciated last year, that are still alive this year, the remaining 13,000, they're all of severe emaciations. Like you can see their shoulders, blades, their rib cages, their peanut head, their spinal column from the coastline, according to the academics. They're not going to make it through they're not going to make it another. They just went 12,000 miles, got there, there's no food. Now they got another 12,000 miles, that's 24,000 miles to get up north, and now they're going to come down south again next year, another 12,000 miles. Do you really think that if they do get there, they're not going to look like that? There's 7,000 humpback whales like this one, discovered by AI, were missing, and the connotations were they starved to death. They're going to blame it on tin cans and pop bottles and cardboard because you don't recycle, but it's because Fukushima broke the food chain. See, that's why I get the big numbers, right? Like this. See that? I'm special. I've been at this a long time, so I deserve huge numbers, huge amount of viewers like that. Only the people that are dedicated get that kind of privilege. You got to be dedicated to get 13 viewers in a single show. Normally, I get stage fright when I got 7 or 8. Could that be real? That many people want to watch my show? Want to watch the truth? Want to find out reality? Is it a crazy world we live in? A lot of media came out and gave you pictures of that emaciated whale that were disproportionate to you could never work out what happened to the whale. Should TEPCO have paid 4 homeless Fukushima nuclear workers paid for their 3,000 homeless, destitute victims of society, immigrants that don't speak the language, workers, money? Like the whale that just washed up in Oregon, by the way, there was one clear picture of its head, beautiful, and it was clear emaciation. You can see the peanut head. I'll come back to that one more time here in a second. Did a marine heat wave cause 7,000 humpback whales to starve to death? For a humpback whale to starve to death, they got to travel 8, 10, 12,000 miles because they have a lot of blubber. So they can live for a very long time with no food. For them to be emaciated, could be a year and a half, 2 years maybe before they finally, if they like the majority of them will die, will sink, right? Dead whale brought ashore. They said got caught in the shark's net and died. This whale is emaciated, by the way. The 26 whales, and they show you these weird pictures with no context, right? You can't, instead of getting 26 pictures, one of each whale, so you can make some kind of a judgment, they give you this. There's only 6 medias covered that story. But there was originally 2 whales found right away. These were found almost 2 weeks later. Right, this was, and you get little clues. You can see the tail is clearly emaciated of that whale. There's severe emaciation. But this was originally reports on the story. These were pretty good pictures of 2. Then they found 24 more. You can see the rib cage, and you can see the shoulder blade, and you can see the peanut head. If you're familiar with these whales, you'll see that. And the shoulder blades and the rib cages is not something you see. These are apex predators. So when 26 whales don't get any prominence, 26 orcas, which is the most that have ever died recorded in human history, only get 6 weird medias, none of them mainstream medias. And they don't show you any documentation except for these couple of pictures that slipped out because there was only 2 of them then, right? So these pictures kind of got out there. But then they did realize there was, at the same time, there was 24 more up the coast washed up. They're used to beaching all the time. They know how to get off the beach. They're taught that as young orcas, right? And the whole group of orcas are very versed in going up and grabbing seals and sea lions and off the beaches. That's what they do. They chase them. They know they're playing in the tide, and they'll run in and the right conditions. You'll have a couple of whales way out there, and they'll be circling way out there, and then the seals and sea lions feel a bit safe because they're so far away. They go down to the water. There's a couple of hit away, wait for them, and grabs them, chases them up on the beach and grabs them. And they use those a lot of times just to teach the baby killer whales how to do it. And so southern resident killer whales showing sign of slow decline towards disappearance. They're in the worst shape is because they're emaciated, severe emaciation. So when you have 26 and you only get 6 or 7 pictures, and you should get at least 26 pictures, one of each whale, because there's no excuses. And where there are 2 was interesting. And I've seen a bunch of bird predators or nothing in the background, or up high in the sky or something like that. And, they've been there for almost 2 weeks. So none of it makes sense. Let's put it that way. And you show you these types of pictures here that makes... Well, you show me that picture. Well, first off, I got no blubber whatsoever. You can clearly see that. And what you're looking at is the skin is peeled up. Right, the rib cage got nothing on them. You can see the bones clear as daylight. And these are bloated up, right? But when you were able to get the glimpse of the tail, like I showed you earlier, you can see clear emaciation. There was 6 of these headlines. I got them all captured there somewhere. And when you went to the National Scientific and Technical Research Council in Argentina, and you searched their site, you only found 1 story about killer whales from 2014, and they were promoting every one of those 6 stories. And why wouldn't they update their site for the world when they had the biggest die-off of killer whales in history? Why wouldn't they update their sites? And they were promoted by all the medias, the 6 medias that reported on it. Right? They had lots of pictures of their research boats. But when you went to both of their sites, they actually did have a story there over in the corner, and it was the same pictures as we're seeing now. And that's probably where everybody got their pictures from, that government agency. It's the same pathetic, but one of the pictures give you the tail, and you can see this is severely emaciated tail you're looking at. Du, 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 du. Yeah, we came up a little bit short last night on the show. Couldn't make it to the end of the show. And this way it goes for some shows for me, right? Excuse me. Hello, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Hope you're doing good. Let me see here. So I got infrared saunas on the way. I'm looking I'm going to use both saunas each day. I'm still going strong. Should TEPCO have paid for the homeless workers tea rather than set up a shop to sell them tea in a nuclear wasteland known as J Village, 12 miles from the ongoing nuclear meltdowns? And that whole story is insane. And let me just find the headline to that story in case you want to go read it yourself. And you should. It's a frightening story. And it contradicts TEPCO and the nuclear industry's narrative just on its own merit. Give me a second, I'll pop that up for you. Well, nothing takes a second around here. It looks like I'm going to wuss out again here tonight. There we go. So this is the story you want to look up if you want to read everything about the poll tonight, for instance, and the horror of what they actually done to the people, the heroes that worked there, the homeless and the destitute, and the victims of society, the immigrants who don't speak the language. We're at 147. That's pretty respectable, is it? We'll give it up tonight. I had a good interview with Kevin tonight. Kevin Blanche. That was fun. Lots of good stuff going on there. So it's less than a gram atomic corruption. The stranding of the stranding of the Firth, which is a United Kingdom. Scotland or Ireland? I can't remember. Let's play that song for a closing song tonight. I do, you can find the song over at James Lucett's site on YouTube. An absurd amount more. And back at it tomorrow. Get up tomorrow morning, start exercise and get in the sauna, get out and get the show ready for tomorrow night. Conference of Parties got a little bit of a break tonight, and so we'll come back stronger tomorrow night. And the last kick at the poll: should TEPCO have paid for the homeless nuclear workers at the nuclear meltdowns tea rather than dock it from their paychecks, their dismal paychecks? I kind of covered that at the beginning of the show tonight, so I'll just let it go with that. Have a great night. We'll see everybody on the other side.
Come gather, good people, I'll sing ye a song of whales on the shoreline. a sorrowful sight. The strandings o' the firth in the dead o' the night. They came in their hundreds, the dolphin, the whale, driven to shallows with a sorrowful tale. The learned men muttered on nets and no noise, but the seas bear a tally that none can disguise. So order a half and a half at the bar. From Fukushima's waters, the fallout sails far. Clap hands on the table, let everyone ken. The strandings o' the firth mark the folly o' men. They'll talk all the weather, they'll talk all the storm. They'll scribble their numbers to keep with the norm. But the count only rises, the carcasses show a reckoning carry wherever tides go. From Raasay to Moray, the tidings run grim. The porpoise and mink now drift at the brim. Yet silence in council halls buries the cost, for silver and power would sooner them lost. So order a half and a half at the bar. From Fukushima's waters, the fallout sails far. Clap hands on the table, let everyone ken. The strandings o' the firth mark the folly o' men. And if ye should wander the shoreline at dawn, where once the great singers and dancers had gone, remember the silence, remember the sound, the strandings o' the firth where the warning is found. So order a half and a half at the bar. From Fukushima's waters, the fallout sails far. Clap hands on the table, let everyone ken. The strandings o' the firth mark the folly o' men. So